All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about Saquon Barkley's stance on the longevity of a running back. So, this is what he recently said. And yeah, he talked about it. He said that's BS. This is what he said. He told E.J. Smith of the Philadelphia Inquiry in Inquirer in a lengthy feature. Marcus Allen played until he was 36, 37 years old. Some of the greats that I admire and I look up and study, they played well into their 30s. Barry Sanders left at 29, 30, and he left in his prime. It's what you put in. What you put in is what you get out. That's any position. There's this weird thing with running backs right now. Is it a difficult position to play? Yes. Do you take wear and tear? Yes. But who are you or anyone else to tell me how long I could play the game? He said, I call BS. He said, well, it's over for me. It's over for me, but I feel like I continue to put the right stuff in my body and do the right things. There will be a day when I'm 32 or 33 and I just want to hang it up, and I'm going to do it just because. He said, I've been trying to control everything. Like, I have to do this so I won't get hurt. I can't control that. My 3 or 4 injuries I've had in the NFL are flukes. There was nothing I could do to change them, but that's what it is. Everything I want to be and all the potential people talk about when I'm on the field, I'm that and more. And then he also said, for me, it's simple. When I'm on the field, I'm one of the best, if not the best. I just have to stay on the field, knock on wood. It's not injuries like a pulled hamstring or something like that. I tore my knee and I had 2 or 3 high ankle sprains that sat me out. Everything I want is still there. Everything I want to accomplish, I can still go out there and do it. I just have to believe in myself and go to work. If it doesn't happen, it wasn't in the cards. But every day I'm going to try to climb up that mountain and try to make it to the top. So he had a lot to say there. Um, well, here's the thing. One thing I will say is, I mean, you could say you will decide, but, if you're not producing, teams are going to decide your fate by simply just not signing you. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, look at some of these guys that are looking for jobs, like Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook. I mean, I think those guys still deserve to be on a roster, but right now they're not. They're having a hard time looking for teams because they're getting older. And look at the kind of season Dalvin Cook had last year. Now, I've said, look, it was with the Jets. I mean, Breece Hall was healthy. Rodgers got hurt. But he's 28. He's not on the team right now. Leonard Fournette, he's 30, I believe. He's looking to sign with the team. It's hard for some guys once they get past their prime. And Saquon Barkley is a running back that has dealt with a lot of injuries, and he said they're flukes, which, yeah, I mean, how he was tackled, that kind of led to, some of these injuries, the ACL and the injury he suffered last year, too, how he was tackled. But there's still injuries. And eventually, if those injuries continue to pile up, there's going to be teams that are going to stay away. Now, you got guys like Raheem Mostert that are on teams. I mean, he's coming off of a great year with the Dolphins, but, he's not young as a running back. He's in his 30s. Latavius Murray still finds a way to be on NFL rosters. I mean, it's just, yeah, just because you're older doesn't mean, if you still got some, pop, then, I know I said pop, I don't know, thinking of baseball, but anyway, if you still got some oomph left, yeah, I mean, you're going to find a way on a team. And maybe Dalvin Cook and Leonard Fournette are going to find their way on teams. But, yeah, he brings up Barry Sanders and Marcus Allen. I mean, for me, in my lifetime, I mean, I look at Marshawn Lynch and especially Adrian Peterson. I mean, how many teams did Adrian Peterson end up on, after the Vikings? He was on the Saints. He was on Washington. I forgot he even played for Seattle towards the end. Played for the Titans for like a game or two. He was on the Lions. he bounced all over the place. The Cardinals, he bounced all over the place. But you know what? He's still, for the most part, not every team, but still produced. Not like his prime years in Minnesota, but still produced. And then you had Marshawn Lynch. I mean, I don't really remember much from Marshawn Lynch's tenure with the Raiders after Seattle. I know he came back to Seattle when they were decimated at the running back position, and he scored I'm pretty sure he scored a touchdown in every game that he played in. He scored a touchdown against the 49ers. I think did he score a touchdown against the because they played the Eagles in the first round? He might have not. And then I know he scored a touchdown against the Packers in the divisional round that year. But yeah, Marshawn Lynch, Adrian Peterson, those they played for a while. They played into their 30s. And look at Derrick Henry. He's in his 30s, and he's the lead back of the Ravens right now. So he could be that version of Adrian Peterson where, he's playing into his 30s and he's still producing. Look at Frank Gore as well. After the 49ers, Frank Gore was bouncing all over the place. Went to the Colts, the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins. Now, he wasn't like the lead back, but still, he was still finding his way on rosters. But I think some of that could also have to do with him just being a veteran and, bringing along these younger guys too. But yeah, it is a weird time for running backs. But Saquon Barkley did get paid a lot of money. And we're going to find out more about with the Hard Knocks episode tonight, how, the whole thing with the Giants went down. And I'll try to recap it tomorrow because tonight's going to be a late night for me. I'll see if I can get to it. I'm going to try to watch it and then we'll discuss it. But yeah, it is an interesting time for running backs. And, some teams are just hesitant to give them big contracts because, the wear and tear. It's one of the toughest positions to play because you're constantly getting hit. And, you decline faster. And Saquon Barkley, like I said before, has dealt with a lot of injuries. Whether they're flukes or not, there's still injuries. And all it takes is one. And it derails your whole career. And you don't get another shot. Now, I'm not rooting for that, but I'm just saying. And he's been able to bounce back. And, even with these injuries, was still producing. Post torn ACL. Still put up good numbers. 2022 he was solid for the Giants, and when he came back after the ankle sprain, he was still producing. But the Giants just wasn't a good situation for him. The Giants were just in no position to compete for anything when he first got drafted. Now they told us, we got Eli Manning, and we're gonna try to. Put a team around him to win. You had Odell Beckham Jr. there, Sterling Shepard, before all of his injuries. The Giants thought that drafting Barkley, giving Eli Manning a running game, they were just going to be this very good team. But they had a lot of flaws. And then 2019, you drafted Daniel Jones, and he came in and didn't do anything that year. 2020, Barkley only plays one full game and then tears his ACL. 2021 was a disaster. 22, they made the playoffs. And then last year, just a lot went wrong. They finished the season strong, but Barkley ended up leaving. And, now he's with the Eagles, and I think he's going to have a very good year with the Eagles. He's going to be running behind a good offensive line for the first time in his career, really. And he should put up big numbers. Just not against the Giants. But I think the way this offseason has gone and how Giant fans have been constantly going at him, he's going to want to stick it to the Giants. And it's going to hurt, but Giant fans kind of put some gasoline on the fire. And Barkley's got those games circled on his calendar. So Giants did it to themselves if he goes off. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. I mean, if a player is still producing at a high level or still producing to some extent, I mean, yeah, it shouldn't matter what age they are. But if they get injured and you start to see a little bit of a decline, they're going to feel inclined to move on. And we've seen that a lot with running backs. But I think Barkley has a point where, if you're producing, you should still have a job. But ultimately teams are going to decide what your fate is. If no team is going to sign you, you're kind of on your own there. But I think Barkley's still got some good years left. I don't think he has to worry about teams not being interested in him. He's still got some good football left in him, and I think he's going to go out there and have a good year. But at some point, he's not going to have the explosiveness that he has had in the past. That's going to go away. And it might be harder for him to find another team. So, but we'll see what happens. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think, though, about what Barkley had to say. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? That's basically it when it comes to this topic. So we are going to take our next break, and when we come back, we'll get back to the quarterbacks. We will talk about Trevor Lawrence, his comments on the upcoming season for the Jaguars. We'll get into that when we return from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.